Hello, friend. You've done enough for today. Let the world soften at the edges while I hold the quiet for you. Before we begin, rest the weight of your head, loosen your jaw, and let your hands settle where they want to be. We'll take 3 slow breaths together. In through the nose, as if you're sipping from a calm lake, and out through the mouth like a warm sigh. Again, in, steady and unhurried, and out, long and gentle. One more. In, hold that little bloom of air, and out, shh. Good. If thoughts arrive, greet them like distant teammates waving from the outfield, and let them keep jogging by. You're safe here. On the edge of town, where the streets give way to scrub grass and the summer dust settles in sleepy spirals, an old baseball diamond rests. The paint on the bleachers is a memory of white. The scoreboard, tilted ever so slightly, wears a coat of rust the color of cinnamon. Weeds make thin green commas along the baselines. When the wind slips through the chain-link backstop, it sings a faint metallic hush, almost like applause that forgot itself and fell asleep. The caretaker's name is Thomas Bell, though no one calls him that. To the town, he's simply Bell, the way a field might be nothing more and nothing less than its own echo. Bell walks with a gentle, deliberate pace, as if every step is a quiet conversation with the ground. He keeps a folded cap in his pocket, and a handkerchief that smells faintly of linseed oil and old tobacco, though he gave the habit up decades ago. His palms are seasoned with a lifetime of small repairs. A dropped screw never stays lost near Bell. A slack hinge, a split plank, a stubborn latch. He strokes each one into cooperation, the way you'd soothe a skittish horse. It is a Sunday, not one of those loud Sundays with bright brass sun and jangling laughter, but a Sunday that feels like an open palm. Bell has decided, softly, in the way decisions sometimes arrive when you're sweeping a porch or rinsing a coffee cup, that the field should have a last, dear game. Not a spectacle, just a gentle closing of a circle. He has seen many circles close here, seasons, friendships, a few romances that flared like fireflies and then blinked away. A proud shoulder that yielded to a gentler throwing arm. A town that went from busy to quiet and back again, never quite the same. He posted a notice at the diner, pinning it between a lost scarf ad and a flyer for piano lessons. On the paper, in his neat, steady script, Sunday Sandlot Revival, one last game. All welcome. Bring your oldest glove and your youngest story. He smiled as he wrote that. Not the youngest person, Youngest story. Stories, after all, don't count birthdays. They count heartbeats. Back at the diamond, Belle takes up the scarred wooden rake and begins to comb the infield. The rake's teeth whisper through the dirt. Chirp, chirp, chirp. He talks to the ground while he works. There we are, smooth as pudding. No rush. He pats the pitching mound with the flat of his hand, and it feels warm from the day's kept sunlight. In the home dugout, he opens an old green chest where chalk lines have slept in their paper bags. He lifts one bag like he's holding a small dozing bird, and he smiles as the dust licks the air. White breath on the evening. He feeds the chalker, sets its narrow wheels on the lip of the grass, and walks the ghost of a line into place. Straight, true, forgiving. Names rustle toward him as the thought of the game gathers itself. Mrs. O'Hara, who runs the bakery and has a swing that never looks powerful, but somehow sends the ball gliding high and polite over left field. Nate Rizzo, who once played shortstop so clean you could eat off his footwork, and now repairs watches in a one-window shop that ticks like rain. Lila Gray, the school librarian, who teaches a yoga class on Saturdays and laughs with her whole body. Henry Deems, retired postman, 80 if he's a day, with a careful throw and an eye like a hawk who forgot how to hurry. And younger adults, too, in their own measures of young. Tess, a welder who wears her hair beneath a bandana dotted with tiny blue stars. Jonah, a substitute teacher with a radio voice and kindness tucked into the corners of his sentences. And Michael, who stocks shelves at the co-op and moves with that calm, quiet balance that suggests he pays attention to where his feet land. Belle does not know who will come. He only knows that the last games aren't always endings. Sometimes they are a soft lantern held up so the way behind can be seen clearly and the way ahead can be trusted. He runs the hose out from the shed and lets a slow arc of water settle the dust. The droplets find the air sweet, and they linger in it, small worlds floating, catching the amber light of early evening. A lone bird tries out a phrase on the foul pole, and the sound falls like a linen napkin onto a table already set for remembering. There is a rumor, old as the first crack of a bat, that around this diamond time does not travel in a straight line. Bell has noticed it himself. Late in the day, when the light softens and the field stops trying to be anything but what it is, the air grows generous. Footsteps that belonged to last summer will sometimes stitch themselves to this summer's grass. The scent of oiled leather can open a door in the mind, and you might glimpse a figure who isn't there and yet is. Somebody's father rounding second with the slow certainty of a cloud, or an uncle crouching behind the plate with a smile that survived the years. Not ghosts exactly, more like a chorus of earlier afternoons, humming along, content to be useful by being kind. Bell sets 3 basses, each soft with age, like buttered bread plates. He tucks home plate into its shallow bed and presses the dirt around it with his fingers, snug but not fussy. Afterward, he sits on the lowest bleacher and takes a sip from his thermos. The coffee is lukewarm, and that's just right for this hour. He watches the light go out to the cornfields and come back again, the way a tide might if the town had an ocean. He thinks of the word revival, not a loud tent, not a sermon. In Bell's gentle dictionary, revival means, let's give the heart a chair to sit on. You're breathing easily. Perhaps you can feel the quiet rhythm of the rake in your chest. Out, in, smooth, soft. If any worry still fusses at the edges, let it take a seat high up on the bleachers where the splinters have grown tender. It can watch from up there while you drift closer to the grass, closer to the hush of earth that knows exactly how to hold a footprint, and then let it go. A willow hangs one slow curtain behind right field. It lifts and lowers in the smallest wind, like a hand patting a blanket into place. Bell hums something he can't quite place. A lullaby, perhaps, that somebody sang in a kitchen where the radio kept company with the kettle. The diamond waits. The town will bring itself in its own time. And somewhere, not far from this minute, the chalk lines will glow a shade brighter, and the past will fold its knees and sit beside the present, neighbor to neighbor, ready to cheer without making any noise at all. They came in pairs and trios, and some came alone, each carrying a small piece of Sunday. Shoes on gravel made a soft hush-hush, like pages turning. The gate creaked a hello, and then remembered to be quiet. Bell touched the brim of his cap to each arrival, not formally, but with the simple gratitude of a man who invited the evening and found it accepted. Mrs. O'Hara wore flour-dusted sleeves and carried a tin of cinnamon sugar knots for later. Nate Rizzo had a satchel with a cloth-wrapped pocket watch inside, the kind you wind like a secret. Lila Gray stretched her arms the way a cat wakes itself, deliberate and smiling. Henry Deems came with a careful stride and a glove that had already shaped itself to his hand decades ago. The leather dark and soft, initials burned into the palm, H.D. "Brought the old friend," he said, and Belle nodded as if a handshake had just occurred between ages. Tess arrived with her blue star bandana and a faint arc of welding soot along one cheek she had missed in the mirror. She wore it like a good luck smudge. Jonah, with his radio voice, carried a little portable speaker, but kept it off. Silence was the playlist tonight. Michael gave the willow a small bow, as if greeting the tall elder that it was. Belle split them by the sun and the shade. No keeping score, just balance. "Sun will take third base first," he said, chalking a tidy scribble on a slate he'd found behind the dugout. "Shade to the field." The rules were modest and kind. 4 pitches, no one hurries. Walks are a stroll with conversation. Any ball that settles beneath the willow turns into a story, told by whoever wants to speak. The crowd on the bleachers, neighbors who had drifted here with their evening, agreed with the sort of murmurs that feel like a blanket lifted and placed just right. The first pitch was a breath. Jonah stood on the mound, a steady, middle-aged calm, and leaned back as if listening behind him to what the day still had to say. Then he sent the ball forward with a gentle arc that seemed to consult the air and find it agreeable. Tess tapped a polite grounder to Nate at short. It made the softest chuck as leather met leather. And Nate's throw to first was a line written in cursive, an old habit that hadn't forgotten its teacher. Michael's foot found the bag with a contented thud, not loud, more like a door eased shut in a house that knows everyone inside. Belle settled on the top step of the dugout and let the rhythms rise. A bat lifted, a bat set down, a breath, a nod. The old scoreboard, lean and rust-bright, didn't light up. It didn't need to. The chalk lines, new today and already looking like they belonged, gave off a soft glow as the sun turned low and honey gentle. Between plays, time offered up threads. Not ghosts, no, just the field remembering itself. Near second base, where the dirt felt sifted and forgiving, Henry's shadow stretched into a second version of him, taller in posture, younger in gait, the easy stride of a postal carrier on a spring morning. He blinked, then smiled a little and tipped his cap to his own memory. "Afternoon," he told the air. The air is approved. At the plate, Mrs. O'Hara narrowed her eyes the way bakers do when the rise is nearly right. She let the first pitch kiss the mitt. The second came slower, and she met it with a lullaby of a swing, sending the ball into right field, where it patted the grass and rolled toward the willow. It settled beneath the curtain of green. Everyone paused, as the rule required. Bell rose, dusted his hands, and looked to the tree. Lila spoke, her voice as soft as cotton left out to warm in a sunbeam. "Since the willow asks," she said, "I'll share." She told them, not quickly, about a summer when she shelved books by day and came out here by evening to watch the town move like a slow constellation. How she learned the difference between being alone and being at ease. A few heads nodded, not as judgment, but as recognition. Then play resumed, like a rocking chair set gently back in motion. You might feel your own breath falling into step with the game now. Inhale while the pitcher holds. Exhale as the ball leaves the hand. Pause as it floats, and sigh as it finds its place. In, out, gentle, easy. If any thought tries to hurry you, let it become a foul ball that drifts harmlessly into the safe part of the stands, where the splinters are tender and the evening is generous. Nate came to bat. He tapped the plate twice. The second tap lighter than the first, like knocking on a friend's door after you can already hear footsteps approaching. Jonah pitched him a memory, and Nate sent it skipping along the third base line, a fair ball by 2 inches of chalk that laughed a white laugh. Tess scooped and flicked to first, and Michael scooped the flick, and everything felt like give and receive, receive and give. From beneath the bleachers, the scent of cinnamon wandered up. Mrs. O'Hara had loosened the lid on her tin, and the sugar notes braided with cut grass and oiled leather, and the faintest hint of rain, from somewhere far enough away to be only a murmur. The sky wore its first evening stars like shy buttons. Time's threads continued their kind work. By the dugout steps a figure sat for a few breaths, a man with Bell's shoulders and a younger Bell's cap, a face careful and calm. Bell recognized him in the way you recognize the taste of a berry from a bush you used to pass every day. "Oh, there you are." The figure didn't speak. It didn't need to. It simply watched the game with that modest pride that lives in anyone who keeps a place clean and ready, no matter who shows up to use it. Then the figure stood and folded itself back into the hush of the field, like a page turning, like a wave that finds the shore, and becomes sure. A ground rule double trundled into left, and Leela held at second, laughing with her shoulders again. Henry delivered a throw that made a neat sound in the pocket, thup, and said, "Still got it," not as proof, but as gratitude. Michael, taking his lead from first, found a penny half pressed into the dirt. He left it there. Some luck belongs to the ground. It was a generous game. When someone swung early, they tried again. When a fly ball drifted between two fielders, they called "yours" at the same time, and both got to be right. Even the bat on balls chose its volume with care. No crack, only a friendly tock-tock, as though the wood and the stitchwork had made a small agreement. As twilight deepened, Jonah's voice grew soft around the edges. "Two and two," he murmured. "No need to declare for whom or against." Mrs. O'Hara sent a single through the infield seams and jogged to first, her apron ties fluttering like a ribbon on a well-wrapped gift. Bell clapped once. Once was enough, and the sound folded into the evening like a napkin set gently on a plate. And then the willow asked again. A ball spun under its curtain and sighed to stillness. This time Henry spoke. "There was a day," he said, eyes on the tree, "when I thought routine meant dull. But routine is a kind of gentleness if you let it be. The same streets, the same mail slots, the same field, the same glove. Until you notice how the sameness is made of 1,000 friendly differences." He patted the HD on his palm. "This glove has listened to every version of my throw." The field hummed a little yes. The people did not cheer. They agreed. A breeze wandered over the diamond, light as a thought that doesn't need to be kept. Bell walked the line between third and home with the chalker once more. Not because it needed it, but because the act itself was a kindness. The line brightened. The bases settled deeper. Night took a step closer, unthreatening, like a neighbor arriving with a lantern just to stand nearby and keep you company. "Another inning," Bell said. Not a command, an offer. Everyone accepted it like a warm cup placed in waiting hands. The pitcher toed the rubber. The batter tested his balance. The past and present sat shoulder to shoulder on the bleachers, and the scoreboard, though unlit, seemed to smile with its numbers that had always been more suggestion than fact. Breathe in. Let the breath travel to the toes of your shoes, to the laces, to the settled earth beneath. Breathe out. Let the shoulders soften the way the willow's branches soften the breeze. We are in the middle of the game, and also beside it, in that sweet margin where remembering becomes rest, and rest becomes the most generous kind of play. Bell lifted his hand, and the field took the hint the way a lake agrees to a ripple. "Last inning," he said, almost to the grass. The words did not close anything. They simply brought the moment closer, like a chair drawn gently toward a table. The players nodded. Shoulders fell to a kinder height. Feet found the softest parts of the dirt. Jonah sent the first pitch like a secret he trusted everyone to keep. Tess let it pass, smiling at the small pop in the mitt, thup, a friendly punctuation. The next came with a little more air under it, and she met it not with a swing, but with a careful bunt that rolled along the first baseline, a hush of motion. Michael and Nate drifted toward it together, and then, as if guided by the same thought, they let it be fair by a foot. Tess set the bat down as if returning a library book, and jogged easily to first. Henry stepped into the batter's box. He did not take practice swings. He placed his feet as one places a framed photo on a mantel, centered, grateful. Jonah tipped his cap. The pitch arrived, neither fast nor slow, just right, like warm bread given to a friend. Henry lifted and met it, and the ball went up, not high, not far, but true, into the pocket of Lila's glove at second. She caught it with a soft little a sound of satisfaction more than triumph. 2 outs, or maybe 1. No one was counting. The scoreboard, dark and content, seemed to like it that way. Mrs. O'Hara came last to the plate for Sunside. She pinched the brim of her cap with flour-dusted fingers and smiled toward the willow. Jonah's pitch floated, her swing answered. The ball traced a slender arc into shallow right, where it touched grass like a fingertip touching water. It rolled toward the willow and chose to stop just at the lace of shade. Everyone looked to Bell. He nodded, inviting the pause. Mrs. O'Hara used her breath as a story first. "There was a morning," she said, "after a hard night, when I came here before anyone. I sat on the first base bag because it was the only chair I could trust. The field held me. It didn't ask me to talk. She glanced around, eyes bright and calm. Thank you for holding us tonight. The final play belonged to the field more than the players. Lila took a slow grounder and walked it to second, touching the bag with the back of her glove. And the inning let itself end the way daylight lets itself settle into blue. No cheers, no declarations. People just stood where they were, feeling the evenness spread, like a quilt smoothed over knees. Bell clapped once, then opened his hands, as if to show the evening, "Here it is, yours to keep." He took the tin from Mrs. O'Hara and handed out cinnamon knots into waiting palms. Sugar met skin, and the scent drifted up, warm, kind, a little home carried outdoors. They ate in small bites, talking in small sentences. Good throw, sweet hop, nice bunt. The words were pebbles dropped into a quiet pond, each making a circle that met the others without hurry. Around them, the past sat with the present, shoulder to shoulder, the way neighbors share a bench. You could almost see earlier Sundays in the soft places between lights. A father wiping dust off a child's cheek with a thumb. A teen laughing with the whole spine. A team of friends now scattered by years, now gathered by memory. Not ghosts, only the way a place remembers and is glad to be remembered. Bats went back into the rack with a polite little tick. Gloves folded into themselves with the easy creak of well-loved leather. Nate wiped the chalker's mouth and set it by the shed door. Tess looped the hose and patted it as if it were a tired rope. Jonah stacked the helmets so their rims made a small, neat staircase. Mrs. O'Hara closed the tin with a soft click and slipped it into a canvas bag. Lila raked the last shallow footprints from the batter's box, smoothing the dirt until it shone like cocoa under the lights. Michael retrieved the penny he had left and pressed it deeper into the earth with a thumb, gifting his luck to the field on purpose. "Thank you," Henry told the bases. He said it as if each square of white had ears. Perhaps they did. The willow's curtains lifted and settled, blessing the diamond with a whisper of leaves. People left in twos and threes, the way they had arrived. The gate murmured good night. The gravel offered that soft hush-hush, like pages closing after a story that knew exactly where to end. Bell walked the baselines one more time, not to check, but to savor. He pressed a palm to the mound and felt warmth still locked in the clay, like a kept promise. At home plate, he knelt, smoothed the dirt, and tucked a small folded note beneath the edge. His scribble, "You mattered." The plate accepted it without fuss. He turned off the field lights one by one, each click no louder than a thought setting itself down. Twilight deepened into velvet. Far off, maybe, a cloud considered rain and decided against it. The town breathed. The diamond breathed back. If you like, you can breathe with Belle now, and with the field that held everyone tonight. We'll go slower than slow. In through the nose for a count of 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Hold, featherlight. 1, 2. And out through the mouth for a count of 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Again, in, filling the ribs like quiet sails. 2, 3, 4. Hold, soft as a blink. 1, 2. And out, longer, looser. 3, 4, 5, 6. Good. Let your attention drift like a foul ball, carried out toward harmless seats. Feel your forehead smooth, your eyes heavy as bases sinking back into their beds. Cheeks slacken, tongue rests, shoulders slide down as if someone has untied a careful knot. Arms grow heavy, friendly heavy, the way a glove learns the shape of a hand. Your chest rises and falls like the willow's calm curtain. Your belly softens, hips release, thighs and calves submit to gravity's gentle guidance. Ankles and feet spread into the mattress like chalk settling into a line. Belle locks the equipment shed and tucks the key into the pocket where he keeps old coins and kinder habits. He gives the bleachers a last straightening touch. At the gate, he looks back, at the bases that gleam like pale moons, at the chalk lines that seem for a moment to be made of starlight. The past and the present wave to one another, neither needing to leave first. Tomorrow will bring its different chores, but tonight the field is a cradle, and the town is the quiet room around it. 3 more breaths now, friend. In, slow as a stroll from third to home. Hold, the way a catcher holds a good word unspoken. Out, like the long exhale of a game that was never about winning and always about being together. In, hold, out, shh, in, last one for the evening, out, longer, softer, all the way. If a stray thought tries to tap your shoulder, let it find a seat on the highest bleacher and listen to the hush. You can drift across the outfield, through the willow shade, over the infield as smooth as pudding and cocoa, following the chalk line that leads you into easy dark. The field will keep watch. Bell will hum a tune you almost recognize. The scoreboard will smile its quiet, numberless smile. And you, warm and weightless, can let the inning of wakefulness end on its own, on gentle terms. Good night.